What's up guys, Chartsmith here, back again with a new video. In today's video I want to take a look at the crypto coin ZEC, also known as Zcash or Zcash, however you would like to call it. Today I want to look at what the next price predictions can be on this coin, because it has been pumping a lot, and I'm curious on what we can expect next, if we're gonna go even higher or if we're gonna reject from where we are right now. Before we're gonna get into the price action that is relevant for right now, I want to take a look at our monthly structure, because that is important for the overall bias slash vision we have on this chart. If you draw on your structure, you can see we put in a high, a low, and then a higher high and a higher low. From there, this crypto coin really exploded and pushed all the way towards $372. From there, you expect to put in a higher low in between this low and this high. As you can see, we try once. After we fail, we take out the liquidity, we try once again, and we fail once more, indicating that price isn't ready to take out liquidity from the highs, and we are probably gonna enter a downtrend. After that, we also break below our monthly low to hold, making it really bearish. From this monthly break, we started trading towards all-time lows, and as you can see, we took out all-time low. But something interesting happened on this all-time low, which I want to zoom in on as well. Let's grab our 3-day time frame. As we can see on the move down, we have been building up a lot of trend liquidity on the highs to target if price wants to do so, or market makers, however you want to say it. But there has to be some reasons to go higher again, because in the monthly you are down until proven otherwise. But what happens here is interesting. We create this range, we deviate the range once, and we deviate it twice. If you have watched my videos for a while now, you understand that this is heavy market maker involvement when we get confirmations. Well, where do we get our confirmations? For that we'll zoom in a bit more. On the daily, this is your low that brought you towards the last lower low, also the liquidity sweep of the all-time low. If we're gonna manage to break this, we are getting bullish and expecting higher highs and higher lows. This is also the last indication needed that we could trade to at least the technical target of the range high. But market makers had other plans and pushed price even higher, and from there we have really been creating higher highs and higher lows. Knowing that market makers are involved in this bottom, let's zoom out to the monthly again. Because if you look at our structure, from this high that brought us all the way to this low, there's nothing really in between. But if you zoom in, we can see we have a pullback right here that brought you towards your last lower low and the sweep of the all-time low. This means if we are gonna break this high, our monthly structure has switched from bearish to bullish. And as we can see, we did exactly that. And from here, we are expecting higher highs and higher lows on the monthly as well. So we can get rid of this change of character, and this is relevant now. What was also interesting is, while we were trading down like this all the way towards all-time lows, we can see that even though we are trading lower, our volume is rising, indicating that even though we are at a not so interesting price point for this coin, people are still interested in buying and selling on this project. Okay, let's see what happens after we put in this market maker bottom. Right here, we didn't break structure on the monthly yet. We put in a higher low on the daily, and then the higher high, and also the break of structure towards the upside, taking out pretty much all your liquidity that we had been building up, except for this obvious liquidity high. We can also see that there was supply right below that liquidity point where we could reject from. If price isn't ready to take out this liquidity, it is gonna need more from the lows, Well, we had been building up a lot on the lows as well to trade towards this high, so there's enough to target. We can also see we're trading lower, taking out liquidity from the lows, try once more, we fill, tap into supply, indicating that we once again are gonna need more liquidity from the lows, and there was a really nice demand left open. This is the last demand we had before price broke structure towards the upside, and it had been never tested back with a lot of liquidity built up above it. So if we're gonna tap into this demand and trade higher from there, that is really bullish. We also swept this low, which is fine, because we all know a wick is not a break of structure and we can still trade higher from there. After the tap in this demand and the liquidity hunt, we once again created a range with 3 taps at the bottom. In this case, it wasn't a second deviation, but a hunt of her extreme liquidity, also indicating that market makers are filling up orders, and from there we once again started pumping up. Well, you all can hear me say it once again, market maker involvement in this bottom as well, because price isn't gonna pump up like this all of a sudden. There's always reason for it. So it looks like there's heavy market maker involvement on ZEC or Zcash right now. You can also see that after we have put in this bottom, with taking out the liquidity and using a nice demand to trading up again, we could finally take out this liquidity point. But because we did this, that can also mean that market makers have completed their goal. They filled up orders right here and could have taken nice profits at these highs. So, even though we are pumping up like this and the monthly is bullish, I also want to take a look at some short scenarios. Because what is there left to target? Of course, we have some sub highs, which are nice to target. Big liquidity highs built up here, of course. But is that realistic right now from coming all the way off all-time lows? We have already had a pump of almost 5% if you draw it from here. And if you're gonna draw it from a recent bottom, it is also almost a pump of 200%. So eventually the market has to cool off, like it did right here, take out liquidity from the lows, tap into some sort of demand to continue your higher time frame trend. So knowing this, I want to look at some supply zones or liquidity points that we can take out and where we can reject from. If you look to the left, above this liquidity point, we have a 3-day order block laying there. If you zoom in, we can see that is also a structure supply, so we can make it a bit bigger, but I like to refine my zones, so let's just do it like this. And we can see right now we are rejecting from this. We also took out this liquidity point, which is an important one, because from this high we originated a really big down move, because from this supply zone we put in and this liquidity high we took out, we put in a really strong down move trading above all your lows. So it is a relevant liquidity point to take out. In combination with this high, it can mean that market makers maybe want to get ready to get rid of some positions and push price lower. Let's see if there's any more supply zones where we can trade towards. I'm not gonna make this too big with drawing in this wick as well. Want to keep my chart a bit clean. So we have this supply zone next if price is just gonna bump through, because of course a lot of liquidity built up here as well, a liquidity high which we can target. So want to map this out. But right now we are getting a reaction from this zone, so let's zoom in on what is happening and where we can look at for maybe continuation longs or maybe some local shorts. We can already see that this demand we put in right here has already been used to originate this pump up above these highs. But while we use this demand, we also created a new demand. So this can be a really strong demand to use and trade higher again, because this is the last place where sellers try to push price down, they fill, buyers take over and push price up. So this is gonna be a high time frame zone I'm definitely looking at for continuation longs. Then if we zoom in a bit more, we can see we have a structure demand right here. Is this one relevant? We don't know yet. For that we'll have to look to the left. Because if this demand zone is in correlation with, would you look at that, your highs to break, and it has been created just before we took out this important liquidity high, it is gonna be a demand I'm definitely looking at for local continuations. Because if you are really strong and bullish, this can be your first PY to look for continuation longs on ZEC. In combination with your highs to break and the important liquidity high we broke, indicated by the arrows, this is definitely a zone I'm keeping my eye on. This demand has already been used to trade higher, which we can see right here. Big demand zone, we used it, and from there we traded higher. We have built up a lot of liquidity, so if we want to use it again with taking out the liquidity, that is fine as well. But because this untested demand is below it, it already gets more interesting to trade towards here and take out all this liquidity we have been building up. But it is a possibility. Right now we have not created any range, so we cannot really tell if market makers are already losing positions, but I can assure you, if they want to lose their positions at this price point we are right now, we are definitely gonna get a range with a distribution on the highs indicating that market makers are gonna sell off and we can expect more bearish price action. Right now that is not expected and we're just pumping up, so this will be my first PY zone. Bit less interesting PY zone for me, but of course if price wants to use it, I'm gonna adapt and look for longs in there, and otherwise this zone is gonna be interesting. But for right now, we could just pump up, and the next target for me would be this liquidity point in combination with this supply. So we're gonna trade towards probably the $120 mark then. So that will be the technical analysis on ZEC. It was a bit longer than it normally was, but I wanted to point out some interesting things I think people can learn from, and I also want to share my knowledge because I get a lot of energy out of it if people learn something from me. So if you found this analysis helpful and you like the way I analyze the markets, make sure to join the free Discord community down below. Right there we can talk in real time about the markets, so I would really love to see you there. And then this will be it for today, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao!